Welcome to
The Hornpod,
the Horn Pedagogy Podcast,
where we put the fun in fundamentals.
I'm John Turman, third horn of the Seattle Symphony and horn professor at the University of Washington.
And I am Danielle Kuhlmann, fourth horn in the Seattle Symphony and founding member of Genghis Barbie.
And today we are going to talk all about sound.
This is our very first episode. We're so excited, and we'll see. We may have some evolution between our episodes, so we're going to try it out and see how it goes. And we have some fun, exciting things to share. And I think we're going to start with a little check-in today. So,
Absolutely.
John, how are you?
I'm good. I'm better than good. We've been trying to, we'll get the Meghan Markle bit for you guys at another episode. But what the horn check-in of the week, we are playing Vaughan Williams Symphony No. 1, the C Symphony this week at work. It is pretty taxing. And when we started out, I was like, oh my God, this piece is so corny. Like the, behold the sea itself. It's like, what is this? What is this libretto, man? Like, I feel like Mozart had a better librettist. But it actually, it's grown on me a lot. I really love the textures. I kind of, I hear a little bit of Elgar, I hear a little bit of Holst, and of course he's quoting Debussy in that one section in the, where it's like all the strings like going down in that whole tone. I'm just like finding little tidbits, and I'm actually really enjoying this week, even though it's kind of a beat down on our faces.
Yeah.
Like this morning I woke up and taught a lesson, and I was so tense and fried. I was like, okay, I need to just like do a full on warm up before this podcast taping because we're tight, guys. We're tight.
Yeah, for me, it's the classic, like, you know, English, UK, like composer, low horn style. I don't know what it is with these guys, but it's like just the most exhausting, middle range, loud, nonstop. You don't play even to the top of the staff. I think I have one note above the staff. I'm like, please let me play a high C right now. It would feel so good. So that's how I feel. It's kind of this weird tiredness, like fourth horn tiredness. So, but it's fun. I love Gemma New, conductor. She's really fun. And we have a giant choir, so that's great.
Yeah, and the choir sounds great. Shout out. Seattle Symphony
out.
Chorus. So after our check-in, let's get into some horn finds. This is a hilarious section that we want to start our podcast with, have a little bit of visual component as well. And so if you are not following us on YouTube yet, go ahead and follow us there. We will do our best to describe this for the audio listeners only, but Danielle, why don't you describe this section?
So Hornfinds is a little time where I'm going to scour the internet for like interesting French horn related tchotchkes and items. It's something I already like to do anyway. Sometimes I just type French horn into any search engine, and it's just really fun to see what pops up. But I just love like really poorly constructed French horn memorabilia, if you will. And so I found something I'm really excited to share with John today. This is from Poshmark. It's called the 9596, which is horrifying that I think this is from the 90s because it looks like it's from another century. Anna Lee, Angel French Horn Sitting on a Cloud and Christmas Tree Ornament, 90s. And this is what it looks like. We will enter it in, and I'm just going to let John take a look.
Okay,
for $18.
$18, all right.
Plus
so imagine
shipping.
something kind of high quality.
This could be yours.
Oh my God!
Can you describe it for our audience? What is that facial
Oh
expression?
my God! This facial expression, chap. This is demonic. This is a fallen angel. If I've ever seen one, I gotta zoom in on this one.
Yeah.
Absolutely demented. It's like giving the side eye and a little like evil smile, an evil grin, laughing, and then there's like a little like unsuspecting child angel. It's almost like this person's getting ready to like rip the short gall like 17 million times and just deafen this poor child. Wow, that is absurd.
Let's get into the horn of it all. I mean, first of all, the hands are paddles, so that would make it a little bit hard to play the horn, which is a piston valve, 3 piston valves, if you will. It's questionable. Everything about it is questionable, but it's definitely a natural horn with pistons, so we'll just call it that. The wings are tattered. The blush is She is contoured. She is contoured. She has freckles.
For the gods.
She's contoured for the angels.
For the angels.
And I think it's also like could be a bell that might make noise in this crystal. Anyway, we love it. We can't wait for you to see it. Somebody please buy that on Poshmark and let us know that you bought it. Hang it on your Christmas tree.
Wow.
And
take a picture and send it to the pod. Wow, that was wild.
Hornfinds.
So sound. Oh, okay, there's not a more appropriate topic I think we could start with.
Yes.
Because this is the foundational element to our playing. When we were starting the podcast, what is our why? That's a question I have written down. And we discussed that there is a lack of there's fewer pedagogy-based podcasts where there's a lot of like interview and musician story-based podcasts, but this one I am so excited because Danielle and I share a lot of the same values, a lot of the same playing philosophies, and this podcast is going to be our outlet for that, and I'm so stoked to get into it.
Yes, I agree. We're so excited. John and I play together almost every day. We sit next to each other every day. We are the luckiest people in the world. I don't know how we ended up like this, but Here we are. And it's so fun to play together because we have such a similar approach to horn playing, to sound making and technique and everything. And so that's, I think, what makes it fun for us to play together and why we play well together. And we want to share that. So yeah, today we're going to talk about sound, and not just sound and how to make a good sound, but really sort of digging into the French horn, how to make a sound. So this would also be a really great episode to share with a band director or a teacher or a beginning horn player to just really kind of get down to the nitty-gritty of what's happening, how are we doing this, what is our setup, and how to make a beautiful sound on the horn, because that is why everyone loves the horn, because it makes such a beautiful sound. It makes the best sound, if you will.
Well, sorry, trumpet player.
Anyway, yeah. But we love the horn sound, and so we want everyone to be able to tap into that beautiful, resonant, ringing French horn sound, and that not everyone can get to on every note, at any dynamic, at any note length, any note style, every register, et cetera, et cetera. We want you to be able to find that resonant tone everywhere on the horn, no matter what it is that you're playing, to really tap into that beautiful music making.
Yes, I am so excited to get into this. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we are going to start from the very beginning. So we'll be right back.
The Hornpod is brought to you by Genghis Barbie, the world's leading post-feminist pop French horn experience. Check out GenghisBarbie.com for recordings, merch, water bottles, t-shirts, experiences, concerts, everything you want to know about the Barbies. Check us out at GenghisBarbie.com.
The Hornpod is brought to you by Horn Hippie Media, music, education, and media production solutions. Loving the pedagogy on the pod? Head to hornhippiemedia.com and download the Horn Hippie warm-up routine today. This warm-up features all kinds of exercises, from breathing to buzzing to flexibility, and even horn player affirmations. Visit hornhippiemedia.com today.
Welcome back.
All right, to kick off the official sound conversation, a beginner musician, someone who has never played the horn in their life, comes to take a lesson with you, Danielle. Mm-hmm. And what is the first thing that you have them do?
The very first thing that I want someone to do is to really connect with their breath, because this is so crucial to playing any wind instrument, but I feel like it's so important for an instrument like the horn, which you can make a sound on a horn or a trumpet or a lot of other instruments with like not a lot of air. You can make a sound. And so that is a big problem for a lot of people, because they make a sound and they think that that's enough. And so I want people to understand from the very get-go what it feels like to really make a great sound and how much air it actually takes to play the horn and make that resonant tone. So the first thing they need to connect with is their breathing. So I will try to show them how to take a full breath and how to connect with not only the inhale, but the, for lack of a better word, exhale. It's not what it is. The push. That's good. I like that. The push. See, I'm going to learn here too. I love this.
That's so good.
So let's talk about breathing. How do you like to think and talk about taking that perfect horn breath?
The perfect horn breath. I love an exercise, and I love especially working with kids, the visuals that you can get. So we've all heard the Baby Shark song, and I just say, okay, get your little baby shark fin. You put it up here. And this is basically something out of the breathing gym where you do a resisted breath. You hold that fin, make a little paddle with your hand, and hold it up to your mouth and like kiss your lips out like this. Like prune. And then hold that fin up to your mouth. And then when you're inhaling, make a low ripping sound. And what this does, it activates that diaphragmatic core, and we really pull in a lot. And you're going for this exact sound. Everyone can make this sound. So try this. Beautiful. And with that air, you might feel, oh, wow, that's a lot. That's a lot different than the way that I normally breathe. You might have to sit up a little straighter, tap into that
which is also posture. Very important. That is, I always say, like, I try to say step one is breathing, but step one is actually like making sure you're sitting up straight.
Right, the physiology of the
yeah, that you're like over. Sitting. Yeah, and this is actually important to talk about, I think, because sometimes we're like, don't slump over, but I like to have people take that moment to really notice why it's so important to sit up, because when you're sitting up straight and your rib cage is nice and loose, it can expand and let your lungs fill up with air. If you're slouched to one side, you're going to compress that whole lung. If you're slouched over, you're not going to be able to have your lungs expand fully. So I think it's helpful to sort of explain that as well. So it's almost like the fundamental to the fundamental to the fundamental, the sitting up straight part and being relaxed and loose in your body so that you can expand in your breath. Okay, back to what you were talking about.
No, exactly. Just to quickly expand on that, yeah, going into a little bit of thoracic extension. So that the rib cage is very open here. We're not like closed down like that, but very open. It allows for a lot more mobility, just up and down with that lung, with that diaphragmatic core. And this shark fin breath, we're breathing in. And when we're demonstrating it, it's totally fine to allow a little bit of shoulders raising because the lungs are filling up. Like your chest cavity is completely filling, so the body's going to respond. Don't worry so much about what the choir teacher taught you, which is like, keep the shoulders down no matter what. Because your shoulders are naturally going to rise if you're taking a massive breath.
And I think what people are getting at with the shoulders thing is that you want to teach students that you're not filling top to bottom. It's not like a gas tank you fill up with water. It's like a 360, like the bellows and the little fireplace or an accordion or something that you're expanding. And so, yes, your body will move. So you don't if you're holding your shoulders down, it's never going to work.
Right. And that's creating tension. And then if you breathe too much, and then hold the shoulders up here, you're also creating tension. So it's an allowance for that mobility in the shoulders and just everything else. You're also even breathing into your back sometimes too. Don't forget about that.
That is where I like to try to bring the focus to the lower back. So to me, I think of the breath. This is actually from Alexander Technique when I studied with someone in college. And she described it as kind of these 4 different quadrants. And the first quadrant is your lower back. So when you breathe, that's like where it starts. And then the front lower quadrant, and then the back upper, or to mid quadrant, and then the front quadrant. So I like that because I think it helps us keep the breath sort of low and open and warm-ish, so that to not let tension in, because we do not want tension when we play the horn. Muscle engagement, yes. Tension, no. So we want to eliminate as much tension as possible. And breathing, learning how to take that super deep breath without the excess tension is so important. So many little tips in there for even just how to inhale. We haven't even gotten to
exhaling yet. I also want to do one more thing before we move on to test that. In that Alexander technique, you can actually do what's called a sandwich breath. So if you're fat like me, you might just have to really, so make like like you're biting into a sandwich, but you're doing that around just above your hips, and make that pinch those sides, and then try to feel the sensation of breathing into your thumbs first. So you're breathing in and feel that lower back start to expand, those lower intercostals first, and then so we fill up the thumbs, and then you fill up into the fingers, and that's how you can also give a more like a manual like sensation, more like tactile sensation to that low breathing technique.
Yes.
But with all of those things considered, sometimes you have to breathe really quickly. And so just going back to this, the shark fin, in the middle of a Mozart concerto, the slow movement, you might have to like really grab a breath so quickly and efficiently. But it's important to start from that place. And I feel like people can really hear the sound of that breath and know when they're doing it correctly or not. And that's the easiest way to coach students, I believe.
And I think, if your lips are too pursed or tight, you're going to hear a different kind of rip, and that's you want that low rip, not the sucking in sound. Yeah. And if it's and not enough kind of force of air coming in, it's also not going to create that sound. So you're kind of listening for that sound,
exactly,
and to feel what it feels like to take that quick, full, relaxed breath. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so let's get into the next episode. We will be coming back to more breathing, of course, throughout
always
this,
and forever.
That's just the nature of this. Yeah. But so the student has now accomplished a solid breath.
Breath in.
Now, what do they do?
They're waiting what to do.
Like, what do I do? Okay, I'm good at, I've been reading my whole life. What am I paying?
Exactly. So, well, that is so interesting because something that I like, when we go to music school, we study ear training. And it's like, most people can hear. So I can hear music, but you have to train your ear to hear a specific way in music. So you train your ear to listen critically, to recognize intervals and timbres and things like that. And it's the same with breathing. Like, we know how to breathe because we're here, but you have to learn how to breathe musically and on the French horn. And that's the inhale and the push, which I like that. I might stick with that. And so it's like you have to learn a new skill in your breathing. It's like, it's not just breathing. Mm-hmm. And so often you see young players just breathing in and feeling like they can just deflate and exhale to make a sound. And it's just not so. Right. We need to talk about compression.
Oh my goodness. This is one of my favorite things to get into because when we're playing horn, we don't want any added tension in the sound, but there is a force to how we exhale. There's activity, there's athleticism even, I would say, in the way that we have to exhale in order to make our best sound. And, should we get into, we could spend so much time talking about embouchure, face position, all that stuff, but let's kind of focus with like how to fuel your sound. Maybe like, or maybe, what do you think? Should we go to buzzing? Should we go
I feel like we need to talk about setup so that we can talk about how the air goes through.
Yes, we do.
Right, so... Okay.
Mouthpiece time.
Mouthpiece time.
Oh, cheers.
Oh my God, listen to that ring.
That ring. Ooh, I love that.
Okay, so what are you playing on?
Oh my gosh, I am playing on the Veris Everest 17.5, the standard, the gold standard, if you will.
And I will.
Oh, will you?
And I am playing on a vintage Moosewood M4 B16 cup. Ding.
Ooh.
Anyway, so let's talk setup. To me, this feels like one of the most crucial moments of French horn playing. And a lot of the time, especially with younger students and players, they will just kind of skip this part. They're not even thinking about the part where the mouthpiece hits the face. They're just like, let's go to the horn playing. But that moment where the mouthpiece actually pushes into your face is like a make or break moment. And it really is going to, it's going to determine what you can do with what comes next. No matter how good your ear is, no matter how good your technique is, if when you push the mouthpiece in, things are not where they should be, it won't work. And so a lot of the time people are struggling with high range, endurance, tone quality, resonance, all kinds of different things. And in my experience, it usually comes from an unhealthy setup, an inefficient setup, meaning like creating your embouchure. Mouthpiece to face. So let's just talk about it. Let's do like a slow motion kind of moment with mouthpiece to face. So I think you had a really great thing you were telling me about the other day with the teeth.
Yes.
To find out sort of like the angle and the positioning. Well, we can make it real basic. French horn, 2/3 on the top, 1/3 on the bottom. That's kind of the classic French horn embouchure. No trumpet embouchure. None of this rolled in half and half. No, that actually is very important.
No rolling in. Rolling in is like I'm like allergic to that. It's just like you're pinching your lips and like
it's a horror movie.
And just it's almost Halloween here. And this is it creates tension and doesn't allow your lips to vibrate. And rant on that later. However, the how to set up a student, when you're playing horn, our teeth are never together, right? Inside the mouth. You're not, because you're...
We hope not.
You're trying to blow through, that's like, you're not going to have any access to any air, right? So we open our teeth a little bit like this. And sometimes you can say, oh yeah, at least like stick the other side of the mouthpiece in. And kind of, gently bite down. And that's a good, like, just for beginners. That's about how far apart your teeth should be when you're playing. And then, when those teeth are in that position, I like to set the mouthpiece on the student's teeth. Gently have them place the mouthpiece on their teeth so that the mouthpiece lays flat, or as flat as possible if your teeth are crooked like mine. And when you have, like, all quadrants of the mouthpiece flat, then close the lips around that, and that is your perfect neutral horn angle, your lead pipe angle and positioning. So you can see for me, for a lot of players, it's almost more like straight out. A lot of people, I had a student the other day that was like, well, my teacher said that just try to emulate Stefan Dorr, and he plays like completely straight down. And so he probably has like an overbite of some kind that he, play. But for most people, it's going to be like more straight out than not. So, or just a little bit tilted down. But once you've found that, that's going to be what we're going to build our embouchure around. And when I'm starting students, I like to also have, I don't like to coach them like bottom lip out just yet. I like to say get both lips in, but get it so that the aperture, or so where the lips meet, is in that bottom third. Mm-hmm. It's like that bottom third. If you divide the cross section of the mouthpiece in that bottom third.
Yeah.
And so. And then just try to have them very relaxed. Just M with the lip, and blow air out.
Sorry, I shouldn't have done
that. No, that's good.
Yeah, so I often will describe it as like floating the mouthpiece up, because I'm always trying to like give language that's very relaxed, because I think we have this, there's kind of this story about brass playing where it's like buzzing, right? So we're like that's how we play brass instrument, right? It's like buzz. You put your lips together and you buzz, and it sounds like a bee. But it's like that's not actually how we play. If we played like that, it would sound horrifying. I'm not even going to do it in the horn. And so I think we have this kind of approach that is how we make sound on the horn, right? Mm-hmm. So I think we need to like take a step back with that and think about what I like to describe to myself too, but to new students, is to really make them think about what sound is. So sound, I'll be like, what is sound? And everyone's like, I don't know. What physics question is this? Like, they're so nervous. And I'm like, okay. Sound is air that is vibrating. It's vibrating air. So sound is air, to me, is just a really simple way of like honing in on the thing that's going to like make your playing feel effortless and feel efficient and relaxed. Like sound is air. So everything you do, every sound you make is your air, is made from your air from start to finish, the shape of your air, the temperature of your air, the direction of your air, all those things. And so when it comes to the embouchure and the setup, like what kind of setup an embouchure, what do you want in and out of this mouthpiece that's going to allow the air to flow through? The air is going to come out and it's going to cause your lips to vibrate against one another. We don't have a little like reed or anything. It's just the lips. So the lips, these two lips, top and bottom, inside the mouthpiece, that's what's going to vibrate. And you want that to be able to vibrate so freely, right? So we don't want that tight, tense buzz inside the mouthpiece, because that's not going to vibrate easily when you blow air. And you want the air to be able to flow so fast and so freely through that so that you can use all that air that it takes to play in every register. So all that being said, when you take this mouthpiece up to your face, that moment that I was talking about, this crucial moment where it actually presses into your face. So you've got your angle, you've got your teeth slightly separated, and my lips also, I have a little bit separated as well. And I think the top rim is like about on the top of the lips, and the bottom rim is like maybe halfway down my bottom lip. That's for me. It's not the same for everyone, but I feel like it's a decent, like,
a starting point.
And so I kind of float the mouthpiece up, and I keep my lips very relaxed because I want, when I press in, what's going to happen is I am sealing off the part of my lip that is going to vibrate on the inside. This like nice, soft, relaxed, gushy lip part. That's my instrument. That's my vibrational lip. And then everything on the outside of the mouthpiece is where I'm going to really bring in my muscle engagement, my muscles, my corners, my sturdy security to like not blow the horn off your face, literally, because you need that. It's not like you just go. So that mouthpiece is going to seal off the part that's going to vibrate from the part that's not going to vibrate.
With gentle pressure. Only enough pressure to create that seal. Only enough pressure to do that.
So it's a good exercise for beginners to just like float it up and kind of just press. Just press and then take it off. Just to sort of feel without tightening, because some people, especially people who have already been playing, will often like a lot of things start to happen. There's a lot of baggage. And so a lot of things start to happen as you bring the mouthpiece up. So it's a good exercise to just float the mouthpiece up. If you're listening, you can just float it with us. And just relax and press. And not make any embouchure. And that's just a nice kind of like starting point.
Oh, I actually feel really good. Dude, that feels really
so
nice.
Good.
Oh my God.
It's just, I feel so relaxed. And then we start thinking about how to form the embouchure. And so then we're going to engage our corners and those muscles that I always pronounce wrong.
Buccinator?
I thought it's buccinator. I thought it was buccinator, but I think I just wanted it to be.
So good. Bucksy.
Just the buccinator. The buccinator. These are the muscles. And I like to think of it as like a gentle hug around the side of the mouthpiece. I feel like I'm doing a little like ASMR here. A gentle hug. Around the mouthpiece. So you have your little moment, you press, and then kind of getting these corners together and hugging the side of the mouthpiece. That's all you need.
Oh, that is so gentle. I love that.
It's so gentle. And so then from there, like we can just blow air and see what happens. And I like to do that as like a really gentle exercise to see how little tension you actually need to play. By tension, I mean muscle engagement.
Yes.
So I'll just try it as an example. So I float out the mouthpiece, totally relaxed. I'm going to press in. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to blow air with no muscle engagement yet. And then in slow motion, you form your embouchure. Ooh. Oh my God, we are so in sync.
Wow, that is so fun. I love that. I cannot wait to use that. That is excellent.
And it's so amazing because you feel just how little muscle engagement. You don't need to, like strong arm the horn. Like come at it from this relaxed position and see how little you need to do. And then you can, have way better endurance.
Well, I mean, I am so lucky and grateful and thankful to my band directors. However, they said, firm corners, like really firm those corners. And that's a very common pedagogical error, I believe, in the band programs, even in, things like clarinet. It's like pinch your corners, not necessarily like, but of course, a band director's got 10 students to, go through. And so we have to figure out like a way to be efficient with that without automatically starting kids out with like that amount of tension.
Yeah.
I feel like in a lot of lessons, I'm undoing that.
Always.
And, what language would you suggest for those band directors to get correct corner engagement from their young brass players?
I mean, I do like the terminology of the hug of the mouthpiece because I think it gets at the holding of the mouthpiece, which you are. But I think if you tell, especially a young person, to squeeze something or to press something, that's just a recipe for disaster.
For too much.
Yeah. So I think it's like the language of like a gentle language, and just to show them, like when it comes to teaching an instrument, to show them that it's really their air that creates that power. And so when it comes to showing a young person how to play, kind of like releasing them, like showing them how little it actually takes, how little muscle engagement you actually really need to like make a sound. And this isn't to say that you can play with like little muscle engagement, because that's not true. When you play in every register, you do have, there are, especially when you start to play loud and the air is really going fast, that you do have to like hold with your embouchure. But for me, I try to not talk about it or think about it too much, because I want the student to be really focusing on their air. I want them to focus on their air and notice whenever there's something that's getting in the way of that. So I think like band directors could really just focus more on the air part of it, the wind part of it, and realize that it's really not much that's happening up here. That's like, nothing up here is creating sound. Nothing. It's all coming from down here with your air. And the ability for the air to flow through is the most important thing.
Exactly. And with all of that, our next topic, let's dive into embouchure and aperture. Shall we? Okay. Well, in my coaching and teaching, I have developed this, a description for what to utilize for the best sound production in high register and low register. And I call this the high set and the low set. There's a lot of terms that, from the old German schools that say Einsatz and all these other things, but I'm just like, what face shape do you use for your high register? What do you use for your low register? Simplify it like that. For high register, I believe that both lips should be inside the mouthpiece in order, and that's not necessarily like rolling and pinching in. It's like using the mouthpiece as a seal to seal off that bottom lip. And so for that high register, if you are someone who very naturally plays with a little bit of low lip outside the bottom of the mouthpiece in all registers, I say, okay, well, we got to get up to high C, and your lips might not be able to vibrate that well with a little bit of that musculature cut off actually by the mouthpiece. And that's why also, just quick side note, whenever you see players have like a little bit of that upper lip outside the mouthpiece, I see that as like a huge positional error, and I immediately correct that and suggest an embouchure shift or a change, because 99.99999% of horn players do not sound good with that position. It's just, you're cutting off musculature, in my opinion, that you're cutting off your body's ability to naturally vibrate.
Well, yeah, and if you just think about it, like that, if you have, fish lips, for lack of a better word, if you're kind of playing on the wet part of your lip, that you're just think about what is in the mouthpiece. Think about how that flesh could vibrate. Would that vibrate easily? No, because it's rolling and stretching. And so the kind of natural lip position, just like this, is that's the way that the lips are going to vibrate against each other the most easily. And that's what we're always chasing at the end of the day. So all these little other ways. And it's funny, like you described how I played in high school when I had no high range. I did, but I barely. And I did have to do a little bit of an embouchure change to bring the bottom rim lower over my lip instead of inside my bottom lip where I used to play. And it was much better after that.
Right. And it's just these little shifts. And it's almost like you're learning a new tool in your toolkit. It's not like you're actually changing the entire way you play in your setup. It's just, I'm adding this new skill. But so for like younger students, the mouthpiece, and older students, adult students, this is your ice cream cone. And when we're playing in the high register, we don't want to spill any of the ice cream out, right? So we're going to take our ice cream cone under the bottom of the bottom red of our lip, where the ridge of our lip comes, and then we're going to scoop it up and get the top of the mouthpiece over, I'm talking around the mouthpiece, the top of the mouthpiece over the red of the top lip. And so with that, then you can do the same exercise that we did earlier with that from that place of relaxation, but the section of the lips that is inside the mouthpiece is greater. So. And just to try that out, and
that's different for me.
Yes, it might be a little bit different for everyone, but for a lot of students, I've had some good success with that. But then when we get to the low register, everything changes. And Danielle and I have a very similar approach, so I'm gonna let you take that.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay. I mean, my approach is a little bit different in that I don't really. It's funny when you said we're going to talk about embouchure and aperture. I was like, oh my god. I literally don't think about it or talk about it ever, and that is because for myself, I feel like if I don't want to call attention to it. I want to think more about my air and like kind of allow for whatever happens with that airflow. And so I have sort of shied away from talking about it for a long time, but that's like, it's important to be able to talk about it. So thank you.
Well, of course. This is a safe space for that. And like maybe because you have such a strong setup, then you don't have to think about it once you set it.
I think that's part of it is that I've been doing this for a long time. And so it's like a little bit different than if you're showing someone at the very beginning. But for me with my setup, I think more about... I don't really set up differently. We were talking about this the other day, the like low and high settings. Like most horn players have a shift, an embouchure shift.
Yes.
Somewhere in your playing where whatever your kind of regular like mid to upper range setting is, you get down to a certain register and you have to create some kind of shift in your embouchure in order to get into the much lower range. A break. Some people call it break, your shift, whatever. And everyone's break is in a different place, which I think is so funny. And I would love to like analyze this someday, but I won't. Yes. I never will, but someone should. Just sort of like where people's breaks are and maybe like what their embouchures look like, or if there's any reason why their break is in a certain place or anatomy, I would love to know. But I don't know. But so yeah, and I am really bad at talking about this because I would love for you to describe how you explain it differently because to me it's something that just sort of happened naturally. But I know that it has a lot to do with we'll talk about low register later, but the opening of the jaw is obviously a big part of getting into low register because you need to increase that's a whole other conversation.
Exactly.
And the kind of change in angle and pressure on the lips is like a big part of it, about how to kind of set up that embouchure. So for you, because I think you would probably be better at describing it.
Let me describe what I see you do.
Okay,
so this is like the perfect low set. So where high set, we have both lips inside the mouthpiece and our teeth remain kind of the same. They remain like slightly in line, vertically aligned. When we go into the low register, sometimes you can you'll add a little bit more pressure to that bottom lip, and the teeth are going to be slightly farther apart. And the jaw is opening. Exactly, because the jaw is opening, and a little bit of the bottom lip is going to be outside the bottom of the mouthpiece. And also our aperture, or where the strike point of the lips together, it might shift slightly lower. And so you might even think like the mouthpiece needs to move a little bit higher on your face even than it was in your high set. So you don't want to be completely rolled out. Of course, the rolling out is bad. Like when you're rolling things out, it's your setting. You have to have a vibrating surface, right? But you can try that same exercise again.
You're talking about my low buzz.
The low buzz. So good. But yeah, that's
the mouthpiece is completely off my face at that point. Just
right.
Like
And but that's like the basic setup. And so from there, I also want to just quickly note that the aperture itself is not a flat circle on the whiteboard. The aperture is a vibrating tube of flesh. It is like the more vibration that you have, the more resonance, the more like overtones that you're going to achieve when it's going to be output of the horn. And so when you see people kind of like buzzing, like with a lot of tension, like pulled back like this, it's like that aperture looks very like two-dimensional. But when you're nice and relaxed, you almost like kiss out your face like this, and have that relaxation. You hear let's hear the difference. Versus there's just a lot more resonance in that, and it's a lot more efficient use of your air through that aperture. And that's like my biggest quote that I give for my students that are struggling in those registers, or whenever they're doing like a pull apart breath where they're like when we're breathing around the mouthpiece, like you want to just drop the jaw gently and just let the corners release.
Yes.
And relax when we breathe in. The breath is a opportunity for relaxation as well.
Every single time.
And with that, so we were buzzing, and any like quick buzz tips for...
I have some thoughts on buzzing.
Yes. We'll do a whole buzz episode.
Like I feel like buzzing is like a hot button issue.
It
like
is.
People have a lot of opinions about buzzing. For me, what I do mouthpiece buzzing at the beginning of every day.
Me too.
It's the first thing I do. And for me, what I love about the mouthpiece and what the importance of the buzz is that you can hear how consistent and constant your airstream is when you're buzzing, more so than when you put it into the horn, because you have a lot more information when you're just buzzing. So I like to do a lot of glissing on the mouthpiece. I think glissing to move your air through different note changes without the notches of the harmonic series, which is a whole other episode. But to really kind of just listen to your air. And I am not so as interested in what my buzz sounds like, because I know there's a lot of people who want their buzz on the mouthpiece to sound a certain way. I want it to feel similarly to when I play the horn, to me, for my warm-up. And I want my buzz to get my lips warmed up, to get my air starting to move, to start feeling efficient airflow out of my lips. So I'm not thinking so much about getting a like loud buzz or like it's more that I want it to feel like it is when I'm going to play. So it's pretty gentle, and I'm just really thinking about my setup and my breath, all these fundamentals that we're talking about here today. Like, these are the fundamentals. So every day, my warm-up, my setup is getting me, like, reminding me day after day, like, what it should feel like, what it should sound like, mostly what it should feel like. And so that's how I like to approach buzzing. I want it to feel the same. It should be exactly the same setup as when you're playing, in my opinion. And I want to do lots of glissing, and it's not really loud. It's just gentle.
Well, I've heard a word stick out to me a few times in that it is the gliss. And gliss, you think about a trombone player they found fifth position. Oh my God, they found it. And then they slide it up, and you get essentially like every hyperchromatic instance of pitch. And when we're buzzing, that's exactly what I'm trying to go for too. Like a very even gliss where you just hear every single like instance of a pitch in between two notes. And that's what's so fun about buzzing on the mouthpiece. We get to try that, and it's like such a beautiful thing. And I love
Let me just demonstrate the difference between two things.
Exactly.
You hear a lot of people talk about like flexibility and mouthpiece, and they will do this kind of thing. And this is like purely mouth, right? I mean, those who are watching can see how much I'm moving. And it's also like, I don't know what is going on, but it's like a lot of moving around. And yes, you can go and move up and down, but there's a lot going on. If I were to play like that, I would be done in like 15 minutes, which, let's be honest, a lot of students do that sometimes. They tend to overblow and use too much face, and then it's like...
too much like lip tension.
Too much
when we
lip
say
tension.
Like too much face, like lippy playing.
Too much lips changing notes. This is a different episode. But I'm like, how do we get on this? But like to buzz through the notes using the... Gosh, this is such a different topic now, I feel.
I know, but how does it relate back to sound?
To sound, yes, because we want our mouth cavity to be open, to be matching the sound we want to be making in the horn. We want it we want the air to be flowing through to make that beautiful resonant sound. So rather than
that's a much more efficient and effective use of mouthpiece buzzing practice than just trying to do like flexibility exercises on your mouthpiece. Right. That's something for the horn and for that quick slot. And when flexibility exercises are buzzed, the goal is to be able to do that quick flipping with like just quickly moving through all those. So, there's going like...
Yeah.
There is gliss in between that but that's not
this is like
super,
the step one.
Yeah, but step one. Yeah, it's just buzzing between like two parcels. My band director used to say, think about it like a drunk mosquito.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that just adorable? Just a little slow moving. Adorable.
I love that so much.
Well, so we've got our buzz, and we've got our breath, and we've got our aperture, we've got our embouchure, we've got our set. But what else affects the sound on the horn?
So I think what we kind of like, it's funny because I feel like we said this like 30 minutes ago, but now we're going to jump back to talk about compression. Because this is, I think, where a lot of people are lost as far as the French horn breathing, the sort of how do you learn to breathe and use air like a French horn player and not just like a person. And so many people just treat the exhale like a deflation. It's just like, and then like you just like deflate air into the horn or something. And they don't really like tap into the feeling of compressing your air and really filling the horn up with air and all these things. So, and again, there are a lot of different ways that people think about this, but for me, and like I'm kind of a small person, so like I have to really create a lot of compression. Like you probably have some natural compression in your body, and I don't have as much. And so it's like there's different ways that people with different bodies like approach compression and how to create it, right? And it might feel different from one person to the next, which I think is really fascinating. And so again, I think it often comes down to like the language that you use for people, because it's, how does it work for that person to fill their body with air and then be able to, like, in a constant and consistent way, push the air out of their body. So you don't want it to be, because sometimes when I talk about compression, you're like, okay, I'm compressing my air and now, and there's something, it's like, we don't want it to feel like that. You don't want it to be holding in tension, but you do have to create compression with your air in order for it to be constant, because it has to, it's not just a deflation, because a breath, an exhale is going to go a lot at the beginning and then a little bit at the end. Yeah. And unfortunately, that is a lot of what you hear when people play the horn, especially young people. You hear a big surge at the beginning and then it just fizzles out, and they don't know how to actually control and sustain that air in a constant way as it exits the body. So for me, I do really think about this sort of like abdomen. Like for me, I think of it as my upper ab muscles, but some people like to think of the lower ab. There's a lot of different ways to think about it. But for me, I want to feel that push, that there's a tightening here that's going to compress the air and allow me to really shoot it out of my body and not just let it fall out, right. For lack of better language.
And what you're doing, we're creating inter-abdominal pressure.
Yes.
And this is done. So imagine someone's going to like throw a medicine ball at you. It's a medicine ball, for those who don't know, it's like a heavy ball, like weighted with sand. And someone's about to throw this like 10-pound ball right at you. And if you brace for that, like you're not sucking in your abs, you're actually like doing a push out of the abs. Up. And so that's, like you're not like squeezing, but you take a full breath and you engage those same muscles, you are able even more so to, that's like what the compression really is. Mm-hmm. And we utilize that a lot, especially in the high register too. Yes, and
yes, we do.
How to get a student to like understand that it takes lots of practice and work.
And I will say, I think something that's important to remember with young people, because I remember myself being a student, I remember for years and years, every time I would play for anyone in a lesson, masterclass, etc., they'd be like, take a bigger breath, use more air. Mm-hmm. And then like at some point in my horn playing career, people stopped saying that to me. And I'm like, oh, but it took years for me to really internalize and really understand. And I think a big part of that is young people not yet being connected with their bodies and with their breath. And we could talk for another hour about like, socialization and gender dynamics and body types and body dynamics and how those things like play into how we learn an instrument and how we feel, whether or not we have permission to make sound and make noise, whether we have permission to do something athletic with our body and our breath, that's a whole other conversation. Oh my God, we're going to get so into that. That's another, we literally have a list that's 40 episodes long already. This is insane. We're just like, we're just scratching the surface. We're not diving like too deep into sound. We're just trying to get to how do we make a good horn sound. When neither one of us have played like on the horn yet, which I think is so funny. We're about like 40 minutes into this podcast. We're so like good. Still breathing.
Which I mean, that goes to show how important the breath and everything that takes place before we even make a sound on the horn. There's so much that goes into it, and that's why like this type of podcast is needed, y'all. But So we get on the horn and we make our very first sound. What note is going to be your first note that you teach someone?
I call it finding your home base note. So when they first pick up the horn, I want them first to not think about what note it's going to be.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. It's like, what is the note that just naturally comes out when you play with this kind of like effortless, low tension, big air, like what note comes out, it doesn't matter. And it's going to be different for everyone. But I feel like it's usually middle C or G, like second line G. To me, second line G is my home base.
Mine too.
Oh my God. So I call it my home base. So it's like, that's your note. That's like your note. It's like, to me, I start every day on that note. It's always the beginning of my warm up. It's going to be like, that's just my note. And for a beginner, it's so important for them to find that home base. Middle C is maybe a better home base for like little kids because that's like the range they're going to start learning in. But for them to find that note and really start building that muscle memory, because the muscle memory of like what that note feels like, and to really like encourage young people or not even beginners, like anyone, to really like pay attention to the way your body feels when you play something. Like you want to just get them learning and practicing, attaching like their brain to their breath, to their body. Like what does it feel like to play middle C? Like that's how you really build muscle memory, and like that lasts and that works when it comes to playing the horn. So we're going to do G as our home base. That's our home base. So let's just try it.
Yeah.
Maybe we do our little embouchure exercise where we floated the mouthpiece up and we put it where we said we were going to put it. We've done our teeth, we've done our lips, our everything. We've thought about where it's going. We're going to do that breath. I like to, like John was saying, it's kind of like the top lip can be pressed in before you breathe, because then you don't have to set your whole face. So I call it PBS, press, breathe, set. So I press first, I'm relaxed. I press to the top lip. Then I'm going to breathe. And then I'm going to set around the mouthpiece. But I'm going to do it in slow motion this time, so that we do the little slow motion embouchure exercise. So here we go. Press. And then I might sit on that for a while as an exercise, just to sort of, again, really let that feeling in my body sink in of like, I just created a sound with very minimal muscle engagement. This is my air, and then what I would do is start to fill that up with my air even more to create, because I think this is where we actually start to go from just like how to make a sound to how to make a good sound. So finding that resonance, and like there's like a resistance that kind of comes back at you when you really start to fill the horn up with air. So we need to chase that and make sure that we're not like that we're not just putting a little air in, but that we're filling the horn. So I like to describe it, to me it feels like, it's like a resistance where you start to feel it come back at you when you really have filled the horn with air.
Right, the back pressure.
The back pressure, exactly.
And even like with the PBS, it's not even more, it's just like a gentle lean of the mouthpiece against your face.
Love it, yes.
Breathing breathing around that set, just like a... So, but the difference, I started to press a little bit. After I did the same exercise. I started that note, and I'm like, okay, that feels good. Now let's see what happens when I just
start pushing that air. Yes.
Not too much to start, but that
by press, really, you resonant.
Yes, push the air out. Yes, exactly. Not pressing the mouthpiece in, but pushing that air out.
So you can, exactly. I don't need to do it. You just did it.
I love. No,
I just want to do it. I'm like, oh my God.
Absolutely. This is.
So it's going to start with just the relaxation, but then we're going to use that feeling we talked about, that engagement in the abdomen, if you will, to really start pushing that air into the horn and really hear how the sound changes from kind of dull to resonant. no idea what
wow.
that sounded like.
No, that's so good. When you hear like in the room, it might be a little bit tricky, but I hear like the overtones increase. Like just they're more present when you push that air.
You start to push the air through.
Yeah. And so we have been talking so much about how to start your amazing sound. We're going to take another quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the difference between a good sound and a bad sound.
Ooh.
All right, we'll be right back.
Bad sound.
Bad sound. Do you have questions that need answering? Send us an email at Hornpod, that's HORNPOD, at hornhippiemedia.com.
The Hornpod is brought to you by Genghis Barbie. Are you looking for something really fun for the horn player in your life this holiday season? Look no further than GenghisBarbie.com. You can find sheet music, t-shirts, CDs, and even gift cards for that special someone in your life who would love a little more Barbie in their life. GenghisBarbie.com. And we're back.
Yes, we are so back, baby. So, good sound versus bad sound.
Okay.
What is that horror story? Someone's come into your studio and they just
have a bad sound. Or you or me makes a bad sound.
Oh, God, it can happen. In our practice session, we just make like the worst sound. And how do we
Let's
work
talk
out
about
of that,
some of the different like bad sounds.
Let's do it. Right.
And like troubleshoot them.
Yes.
Okay.
I love that. That's one of my favorite things to do in
I love
lessons,
it.
right?
And I think it's actually important like as a teacher to be able to like recreate those sounds.
This is so important because how can you describe what not to do if you don't know what they're doing?
Exactly. And so there's like these, it's so funny. Sometimes when I watch a kid play, I'm like, oh my God, like I can feel it. I know exactly what's happening. And there's a lot of different things. Also for people who are more advanced, there's things that we fall victim to in different registers and dynamics, especially when it comes to sound, that we can also talk about. But okay, my first one is the stretched lip breath. Ooh. So it sounds a little something like this. It's like so familiar.
Yeah. Oh.
It's kind of like a, and it has like a woofy brightness. It's horrifying.
Oh, yeah.
But so many people sound like this, especially young people, and it's because the lips are stretched and spread when they're breathing, and as we talked about, they press in. Their lips are stretched, and so it's a tight, thin lip, and that's all they have to vibrate with.
I want to try that real quick. Okay.
It's kind of fun.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that sound before. I have heard that sound before.
Because you can also hear how out of tune it's immediately sharp, and it's like it's wiggly and also like it's about to fall off. And if you blow a lot of air into that, that's my favorite sound. Mm-hmm. I mean, I sound like a sixth grader. Yeah. It's so funny. Mm-hmm. Anyway, yes. So that is often when, and this goes also for even like advanced players. Like if you are feeling like you're trying to play louder and you're not able to do it, like you just can't. This happens, I think, to a lot of people in the mid register, mid to low, like around E, F, G, D, like that is for a lot of people just like a register because if you feel that you're unable to like expand into these like really resonant dynamics, then there's tension somewhere. It's either in your lip, it's in your throat or your tongue or anywhere else in your body, but there's tension somewhere that's not allowing the air to flow. And so in that case, the classic, most famous one is like the stretched lip breathe. Then we have the pucker, the over pucker. Mm-hmm. When someone's like, this is how I play the horn. So this is fun.
I'll try. This is way too fun.
It's like
Alberto Capetillo. We're gonna have a whole episode about Alberto. We love our maestro. Need to break that down. The hurricane sound, but yeah, doesn't that not sound familiar? You know.
Oh. So in that case, you're pushing and pursing your lips inside the mouthpiece. So there's so much lip in the mouthpiece. There's no way it can vibrate.
Yeah, and a lot of tension,
so
too.
Much tension.
A lot of, like, holding it forward. It's just like, ooh.
Oh, and the range is non-existent. In both of those embouchures, you can't, that's why kids are like I can't play above I can't play above a third space C. Well, no wonder. So, and I'm not like, this isn't to like look down upon a beginner. Not. Oh my gosh, like we were all there. But this is why. And it's good for them to understand like why they can't do that. Exactly. Yeah, what's happening physically and what's limiting them from doing what they need to do. Unlimited. Sorry.
Our future is unlimited.
Stop there.
Okay, stop right there. Yeah, start right there. Otherwise, we'll do the whole thing.
Do the whole song.
Okay. No, but how those are simple corrections though, and it's just let's go back to the beginning of that hugging of the mouthpiece with that gentle muscular engagement, and even though they probably have been playing like that for a long time, and so it's important to encourage them and tell them that the change might take a few weeks, but it's very important for them to recognize the sound when they are making that sound and recognize what a good sound is.
Yeah.
And help them achieve that. Help them achieve that beautiful sound as quickly as possible.
Yes.
And so like to correct the pinching, usually it's like a breathing. It starts with the breath and they pinch to breathe.
Yes.
And so just relax with the breath. Jaw drops slightly and the lips stay right in position. You just breathe around that set. And then for this, like 2 in, just have them relax. The lips. It's all back to that neutrality of the face and like just, my resting horn face. And one of my favorite issues to correct is mouth shape. And so you'll hear people like, oh God, I can't wait to demonstrate this. You'll hear this sound. And I feel so shady when I demo this for a student. And because, it's like, oh, okay. Like because you kind of have to exaggerate it a little bit, like how they sound. Like, do we really sound like that? You don't sound like that, but it's important for you to know. So I'm going to put when we're playing horn, the tongue actually stays pretty flat in the mouth in the middle register, but I'm going to put it like up at like this.
Like a high range.
Yeah, like a high register tongue.
Oh. That one hurts me. I mean, honestly, I'm impressed with how much range you had just then.
That was like, crazy, yeah.
That's professional, people.
Yeah, pro. But you'll hear this when students bring in Shostakovich 5. I feel like that's
totally.
It just lays everything out like, okay, all right.
Yeah, and this I think we will talk a lot about when we get into how to go from one note to the next, which is the next episode. But yeah, as far as having the right inner shape to match the pitch that you're playing, so crucial. And that happens a lot as in the opposite direction as well. I think when people go up high,
it's too low.
And it's like they stay in this low set. I mean, I literally can't even begin.
Because the air is moving so slow, and the tongue actually helps us increase the speed at which the air leaves our mouth. And when you have faster air, air moving faster, the lips vibrate faster, and faster vibrations, higher pitch. Oh my gosh, yes! Magic School Bus taught me that.
Oh, I love that. I love Magic School Bus.
That's right, Miss Frizzle.
We need a Magic School Bus goes into the French horn.
Oh my gosh, yes! All right, with the frizz? No way.
No way.
So with all of that being said, the easiest correction, though, it's to maybe have a student speak with that tongue position. So, I like to use visual cues. I say, this is your, make the sock puppet. This is your mouth. And then, drop that, and singers say, raise the soft palate. But, I just say, take a big yawn. Yawn with me, yawn. Oh, and moo with me. Oh my God, the deep cut for the rent heads. Oh, so we're yawning. When you yawn, those the muscles in the back of the mouth tend to raise. You can also think about maybe these big pillars in the back of your mouth pushing up and creating this resonance. You hear when I'm doing it while I'm talking, my voice has this weird, natural resonance. You might go by a group of opera singers and they're talking like this on the couches.
Oh my God.
And they're like, oh, yes. Oh, hi.
Not like me where I'm like, oh, hi, John. How are you?
And how are you? I'm doing good.
How's your week?
So good. So the opposite, you can hear like that natural resonance when our vowel shape is very open, tall in the back of our mouths. And when we're playing the low register, I find that is particularly useful. It's the most common mistake is just like the incorrect vowel shape.
Yes.
And when you are using that incorrect vowel shape, you'll hear that sound that we demonstrated earlier, that like tightness and like just not, the air is...
I have another good one.
Yeah, yes. The
this
air
is my
not
last one,
moving freely.
my favorite one, which is the low register. Ooh. The not accounting for the change in vowel shape when you hear... That
yes,
one.
the R, the R-ful sound.
Interesting. Yeah, so that's just like it needs to. Same thing and kind of in the opposite direction.
Yes, exactly, in the opposite direction. And the quick fix is just, all right, let's go back. Let's relax the tongue. Let's, and then try to have them play it with both like their tongue like really low, and then with the really high and like really tight, and just help them feel that sensation and the sensation of the difference, and then hear the sound. Because once you hear the sound, I feel like it can become very obvious. But when I was starting out, when my freshman year in college, I didn't think I was that far behind everyone. But that's because freshman. But I didn't really know like what a good sound was or what a bad sound was, and no one had ever like taken me and said, okay, you're making this sound, like what's going on with that? Yeah. Like my teacher in high school was just like, play all the crazy rep and have fun. And I'm like, yeah, I love horn.
Yeah, I think when you're young, it's like I do think it's not that you can't hear it. It's that you're not trained to hear it yet. So, it's important as you're learning the horn, and even as a professional, to keep reminding yourself and keep kind of honing that skill of like listening to yourself and listening to your sound and being critical of it, not critical like bad critical, but just listening and taking note of and being aware of like what your sound is doing, because there are also little, what about things like a double buzz, like or edging out,
yes,
or like there's a million different things that really are kind of like more kind of intricate bad sounds.
Right. I would love to talk a little bit about the double buzz.
Let's do it.
So the double buzz. If you have a double buzz, you are not a bad player. Double buzz happens like
happens to the best of us.
It happens to the best of us. It honestly happens to me like almost every day, like when I'm warming up and I'm using too much air in the low register. And for me, it's like either you're overblowing or your lips are in like an incorrect position.
Yes.
So
or like both of those things together.
A good exercise like to test this out is tilt. Okay, I'm not trying to purposely sound like shit, but sound bad, sorry. So I didn't change at all for that low C, and like I tried to like throw a lot of air at an already kind of like high set aperture, and I was like, I like did a slight shift, but didn't push my like top lip down, so like my aperture was extremely wide for that C. And the correction I would make is to actually slide the mouthpiece up in between like the middle C and the low C. And fixed. And so that was a positional error. And then also it can happen when you're really tired.
Yeah,
and
that's when it usually... It was funny because that kind of fourth horn tiredness I was talking about, I feel like the double buzz is like... That's danger, but double buzz danger territory when you're like really tired and you're at the end of like some Elgar or like Vaughan Williams or Holtz. Why is it? It's this
the English composers.
The English there. I don't know. And so and to me, I think it can also happen when your embouchure starts to spread and you start to lose muscle control. So and that's a whole when we talk about low range, we will talk about
I think it's like episode 4 or 5. So
yeah, we'll get there. But I think it can also the double buzz can happen when you're starting to get tired, and so you're kind of losing your structure, and so it's kind of getting like a bleh, like that sort of shape is kind of creeping in, and so it's really important to really rely on like the kind of somatic like feeling of how to play, and even when you're tired, to still retain like the correct shapes and positions that you need.
Exactly. And breath as well. When you're tired, it's even more important to focus on those breathing mechanics.
Yes. Even more. The more tired you are, the more you have to lean into your air.
Yeah. Because when you're extremely tired, that's when we are at risk, the highest risk, in my opinion, for injury.
Yes.
And so 100%. The reliance on the air is paramount to avoiding injury.
Yes.
And so that's why we spent like 30 minutes talking about air.
Yeah.
It's so important, you guys.
Like, oh my God.
Yes. So I would love for us to wrap up a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like we talked a lot, which we knew it would be that way because it's us. So if you're still here with us, thank you. And I think, is there anything else you want to say about sound? The thing is, like, we will talk about sound and air in every single episode. Yeah, because it's all tied together. And in fact, it's hard to just only talk. You know, there's so many things. I'm like, I want to get into this and that and this, but it's like, no, let's try to just isolate.
Will, absolutely.
It's all connected.
But, you know, so like a good sound from a bad sound. What is a good sound?
Ooh, a good sound, to me, a good sound is one that is even across registers.
Yes.
So that you are creating sound kind of the same way in all the registers. It has to be resonant, and it has to sound easy and clean, because there's no noise in it, there's no junk, there's no spittle.
Nope. Exactly.
Or something like that. There's it's smooth, it's not shaking, and yeah, I think the biggest thing is the resonance, the round warmth, the resonance. I like a bright sound personally. I feel like I like all kinds of sounds. I mean, everyone, you know, every good horn player with a good sound, fine. I like a buzzy, kind of bright, not buzzy, but a bright sound, because to me, it's fun. But a dark, classic con kind of sound, also beautiful, you know, a dark whatever. It's all nice. But to me, I think it's the clarity, the warmth, the resonance, and the relaxation, to listen to someone and feel at ease.
Yes, and to feel like, wow, that sounds healthy. It's kind of like listening to Cynthia Erivo. Like, honestly, it gives the same thing. Y'all go listen to Wicked, go watch Wicked. It's probably out by the time you're hearing this. Maybe not, almost out. I will say, so Danielle is saying terms bright, dark. When I'm like telling students, like, from the beginning, like, wait, sound can't be bright. What sound does it sound? But the overtones that you hear in someone's sound, there's like a lot of high overtones present in a bright sound. Maybe there's a little bit of a low cut. So like some of the low overtones might be slightly missing, but in dark sound, you actually have the missing high overtones. So we'll demonstrate it just a little bit, like, to see if I can. But that's me actually playing on my body to cut off some of those high overtones. But then we play the same thing off. You hear the
so
difference,
different,
right? And you
so
the brightness is that presence of high overtones in the sound, and I think like having that full, you know, it's just
literally pouring rain.
Y'all, it's pouring rain. I bet y'all can hear that. It's Seattle, but yeah, that full spectrum of overtones in the sound, I also really love. I love it. Right. I mean, but for Brahms and you know, those like deeply romantic and maybe even Tchaikovsky 5 solo, it could also be appropriate to maybe play on the body, play on the legs, shave off a few of those high overtones.
And you know, all those different, you just showed us a little horn hack about, you know, there's all these different ways that you can manipulate the timbre of your sound, whether it's external or internal. So that's a whole other conversation.
It is. Oh my gosh, so many conversations.
We have to stop.
But all right,
So now we've come to the portion of the show where we are going to answer your burning horn questions. So let's get to it. John, we have a question from our listeners.
Yes, a listener question. Davian Barba said, working on tons of excerpts right now, and I'd love some tips on making a unique impression for a panel. I don't want to sound like every other person behind the screen, but also don't want to overly interpret something and make the panel think, I don't know what I'm doing. Thoughts?
I loved your dramatic reading, first of all.
Thank you.
I do have thoughts.
Me too.
I would say for me, I think the one thing that really makes someone stand out in an audition amongst the rest is playing with connection between the notes, which we're going to talk about in the next episode. But really, someone who is playing with intent, musical phrasing, and connecting one note to the next, it's such a different experience to listen to. It's like they're drawing you and pulling you in note after note, and you can't help but be engaged, versus someone who is playing and you you are listening to someone play the horn, or play music or play a piece or an instrument, I should say. I want to get lost in it a little more. And that's so rare, so that when you really hear that from someone, it just pulls you in. And I think that is an easy way to just set yourself apart from most.
Oh, wow. Fabulous, fabulous. I very much agree. I believe, though, that an audition, it's a professional sport, and it's also a survival reality competition program. And what can save you in a round is your sound. And if you do not sound good, you're going to get cut. So just make sure that you're sounding good on every single thing. Make sure you're running your mocks ahead of time. Also, Danielle and I are audition coaches, and so this is a huge, a really common question that we answer for students that are taking auditions and professionals that are taking auditions too. How do I sound in an audition to make the best impression? There are certain things that you want to showcase. You want to showcase that you can play in tune, you can play in time, and you can play with a good sound. Now, if you are going wild on the time until is like the excerpt of the day, you're elongating something crazy before the volles Zeitmaß. You're like going like dun dun bum. If you're doing that, it's a little like we call turkeying, and you don't want to. You want to be in time, and you want to be musical, and you also want to I want to be able to hear the orchestra behind you. I want to hear that in your mind's ear while you're playing. And it is possible to hear that. You can hear when someone's really internalized the music.
Yes.
So that's why it's important to constantly be listening to your favorite recordings when you're prepping auditions, so that you can just, okay, I'm part of the orchestra, and here is my moment, and dum bum bum dum bum bum bum, and you can just make sure that you're not going crazy out of time. I would say err on the side of being more in time than not, and you would be surprised how often that actually stands out a lot more, because in auditions, everyone falls apart. It's just a thing that happens, and if you can manage to survive through the rounds with also while playing in time in tune with a great sound, you very well might find yourself with a job at the end of that audition. Fantastic question.
Such a good question. I feel like we could do a whole episode on audition.
Oh, we will. We will do an audition episode.
So we won't give it all away today.
Absolutely not.
But thank you for your questions.
Yes.
And if you have questions, please email us at
Hornpod. That's HORNPOD at hornhippiemedia.com. At the end of every episode, we are going to do something called a horn hack of the week. And this is an exercise or a tip or a tidbit that you can use right away in your own playing and in your practice. And so this week, you demonstrated it a little earlier, it's going to be the difference in getting that dark sound and that bright sound just with one simple motion. So in order to get a dark sound, like in Brahms 3, you are going to put the horn on your body, or if your torso length allows it, on the leg. Now what this does, it actually cuts off some of the higher overtones, and so your sound is a little bit darker, a little bit more mysterious, a little more moody. Velvety, if you will. Velvet Barbie. So I'm going to demonstrate it for you real quick, and if you try this, please tag us on all of the social medias, and we'll repost them. All right, so this is with horn on the leg. Off the leg and away from the body.
And that you could use that depending on the space you're playing in, the orchestra you're playing with, the preference of the conductor, or your own preference. That's just so cool. I love it. It's so simple.
It is so simple, and that is the horn hack of the week. Y'all, we want to thank you so much for listening here, and just make sure to follow us on all of those social medias. Make sure you rate and review this podcast, and do us a huge favor and please share this with a friend, maybe a band director. Please. Thank you so much.
For the love of the horn.
For the love of horn. Please. And next week we are going to be back, and the topic is notes.
How to move this is what I truly believe is like the great mystery of the horn. How to get from one note to another note.
We cannot wait. We'll see you next week. Thank you for listening to The Hornpod. Bye, guys. Oh my god, horn is crazy and fun. I love it. It's so fun.